Hello everyone and welcome back to my live react to the June the King documentary on Machinima titled The Greatest Business Failure in YouTube History. So far in part 1, we covered Machinima's history as being a website where people uploaded actual Machinima content like edited gameplay videos, to them becoming a very successful YouTube channel and a hub for people to upload their content and make money, to becoming an MCN or multi-channel network where people would then partner with them and upload to their own channels, and the ad revenue would go to Machinima and they would pay a rate to the content creator. But now we've also talked about a lot of their problems as a MCN company. Where we left off is that around 2012, Machinima started misrepresenting themselves by going to these conferences and claiming that they were a network that was a broadcast network, and therefore people should invest in them so that they could make broadcast shows. This is not what they were known for. This is not what they did. They've blatantly misrepresented themselves to the industry to make money. So let's see how that pans out, because I specifically remember, as I was a partner with this company, many times in the history of me being a partner, they would contact me and say, you've got to promote this new show we've got. Promote the Mortal Kombat series. Promote the new Halo movie we made. Promote this and that. And I was like, why are you making that? Like, you're an MCN. You're supposed to be focusing on us, the partners, and our prosperity and us becoming, more profitable on YouTube. Why are you sinking your money and efforts into making a TV show? Who asked you to do that exactly? And the answer is no one, but they lied to investors to get the money, so then they had to do it. So let's keep going. By the way, shout out to June the King, great documentarian in my opinion. Check out his YouTube channel. I strongly recommend it. Great content. All right, let's continue.
The series by me released in 2010. That was also promoted by YouTube on their official blog and on one of their fastest growing channels, and the result was it was liked by the viewer base, and in about 2 months the first episode alone got 3 million views.
Wow.
But then a year later it only stacked an additional 1.5 million views, and then 3 years later another million views. There is little longevity in garnering continued viewership, which is the point of these projects now. Take a look at Shane Dawson's channel, where there is no production value, aside from maybe a Halloween costume. These, in 2 months, get half the viewership in what an actual YouTube-promoted Machinima Presented series got in 5 years.
There you go.
And this was what Machinima was saying was its future. This was their next big step, which was initiated with the Machinima Prime channel. The core channels like Machinima and Machinima Respawn were oversaturated in a market where the demand for gaming content had been met long ago. They were an unfocused amalgamation of videos with like commonalities piled and overshadowed one after another. Machinima Prime was meant to be yet another filter. This was the high quality stuff, with Halo Forward Unto Dawn presented as a flagship project.
Yep, that was it. Halo Forward Unto Dawn, that was the show that they were promoting, and they wanted all their partners to promote it too.
Alongside other game series revolving around Mortal Kombat. It took only a year for Machinima Prime to become the same unfiltered mess. Additionally, by the end of 2012, Machinima still wasn't even a profitable company.
No, we're almost profitable.
Also, by the start of 2012 and by the end of it, they had still grown to cover about 2,000 more creators. But not big creators, just more smaller and smaller creators. Because if you got to them while they are still small, you can bind them in a contract.
It's just funny because how are you one of the top viewed channels on YouTube, right? How are you supposedly so well known? There's name recognition. Everyone on YouTube knew Machinima. How are you not profitable? Obviously, what that tells you is the management is doing something wrong. If you have everything that you would, every tool available, if you have, think about it. You have all the tools. You have a hammer, you have a saw, you have power drill, you have concrete, you got nails, you got everything, but you can't build something with it, right? There's a problem there. It's you. It's not the tools, it's the talent. The management of Machinima didn't have the talent to make the company profitable because they were idiots.
You can get them before they're partnered directly with YouTube or another network. And more importantly, you can inflate your numbers. Here is where more theorizing comes into play, and we can try to go into the minds of Machinima. As established, they've lost one of the pillars, which was exclusivity to pay creators for their work. Their reputation
right, because now creators can make money either with another network or through YouTube. So it didn't matter. That exclusivity was gone. There was no real reason to be partnered with an MCN at one point, okay?
Progressively getting worse, as more and more creators are denouncing Machinima, but YouTube and more importantly traditional media companies are none the wiser. Which goes to the third point where YouTube still thinks Machinima is essential. We know this thanks to this person, Courtney Liskey, a member of the YouTube business development team. She represents the ideas of YouTube and she thinks Machinima is necessary.
One of the trends that we're seeing now is the emergence of these multi-channel networks. So I don't know if you've heard of the network.
This information is wrong. It says at the bottom of the screen. So basically, June is saying what she's about to say. She works for YouTube, and she's going to say all bullshit. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Okay.
Networks, but some of the original ones on YouTube were Maker, Machinima, Fullscreen, and these developed because creators were doing everything themselves, and it wasn't really scalable, and it distracted them from creating content. So these companies came in, and they saw scales of economy by offering them certain services, whether it was ad sales, or production facilities, or doing cross promotion.
Completely wrong.
And so we saw the emergence of these networks, and I think what we're seeing over time.
She's an idiot. She's a high up at YouTube. She doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. No one signed up to any of those networks for those reasons. She's a complete moron.
Networks are a great way. They're almost like the new TV networks. They're a great way to get content discovered. I think one of the biggest challenges on YouTube, with the incredible amount of content on it, 72 hours of content is uploaded every minute. 4 billion is watched every month.
She's literally just rattling off a bunch of numbers that mean nothing, right? Oh, you're so smart because you have a bunch of statistics you memorized for this fucking speech, but you have no idea about what made MCNs popular. That's hilarious.
It's how do you actually build an audience and generate it?
Don't worry, I'm sure she probably made like 300-400K, probably base pay for someone like this. Genius.
Into them having flexible content, and networks are a great way of curating the content for users.
While it is true networks like Machinima offered sponsorships or even better ad placements, that aspect came after the growth of Machinima and was likely implemented as a bullet point to join them over other networks. This, like personal consultants, promised growth, and more, was all done to make it more enticing for creators. Another key point is the aggregator or curator of content aspect, which was about to be knocked off Machinima's benefit list, which is when Liskey's tone changed 2 months later.
So you're curating as well as aggregating and providing all the other mechanisms underneath it all. So you're
yes,
really
I think that's something that's been missing from YouTube, is that curation aspect, and so this is a piece of it. Traditionally, what's been happening is we've been relying almost on the multi-channel networks to be the curators. Those are the ones that were mentioned before, like the Machinima, Maker, Fullscreen. Right? They aggregate an audience at scale. They're focused on a vertical, and they know our audience really well. But we're also now trying to be curators.
For her to go from praising the networks as a curator in the YouTube space to now, in essence, saying we are bypassing them by enhancing the algorithm to more accurately curate content for you is extremely drastic.
Yeah. So, on the one hand, she's saying that, oh, these MCNs were useful because of all these reasons. Then a couple of months later, she gets interviewed. She's like, oh, yeah, so all they did, they were curators of content, and now we're doing that ourselves, so you don't need them anymore. I noticed this when I was still with Machinima. I started seeing these different things happen. And you would even get an email from YouTube, and they would be like, hey, just so you know, we've implemented a new thing that you could quit your partner network by clicking this button. And I was like, huh? And it was true. Like, you would go into your channel, and all of a sudden there'd be a new button that came out of nowhere. Sever from your partner network right now. Press this button. And I was like, why would that be there? And come to find out, what happened was YouTube wanted people to quit partner networks. They now wanted to become the direct partner with you. They basically felt like partner networks had become either predatory or just not necessary anymore. So they were actually trying to push creators away from them by implementing ways to just get out of your contract. And like, well, why would I want to get out of my contract? I don't understand. But here's the button. If you want to do it, it's there. Oh, okay. Well, at least I know it's there. That's nice, but it's kind of weird that they're kind of like all of a sudden pushing this. I got a couple of tips. Let's see here. I got a $2 tip from Terry Bogard, Neo Geo fan. Yeah, I went to a flea market and saw a cabinet for a game called Toy Fighters, a 1999 fighting game from Sega. Never ported to consoles. You ever play it? You play it one-on-one as a plushie or an action figure. It was weird looking. I know you played a ton. I've never heard of that one. If it's from 99, that's like the very end of the fighting game boom in arcades. And arcades were actually on the way out. So that's probably why I never heard of it. Was it 3D? Because the thing is, at that point, I mean, there were a lot of games that were like spin-offs of Mortal Kombat and stuff that were 3D games that no one ever played. So maybe that's what it was. It was that era of just the slosh games just being tossed out there. I've never heard of a Toy Fighters. But thank you very much for the tip. I also got another $2 tip. This one is from Jimmy James Jr. Why didn't you leave your contract when PewDiePie left? He brought them to court when it was ruled their contracts were unlawful. Because I had no reason to leave. I was making good money on my contract. All right. I told you guys, I had a more lucrative contract than most Machinima partners. They actually still had me in a flat rate contract for a very long time. It wasn't until I don't know exactly. This will be in my React coming up after this to me. I'll be talking about my history with Machinima. I have the emails that actually have the date when they decided to change my contract from flat rate to a percentage share. And even then, guess what the percentage was that they gave me? 100%. They wanted to keep me so badly, they kept me on with their company, and they made $0 on me. Zero. So there was no reason for me to leave because I was making the same money that I would have done if I was with YouTube anyway. Do you see? So they loved me. They really wanted me to stay with their company for the longest amount of time, and they were paying me as much money, you know? So that's what I mean. Like, there was no reason for me to ever leave. Everyone was telling me, they were like, didn't you hear that PewDiePie, the biggest YouTuber, left? Why would you stay? You know, doesn't that mean that that's bad? I was like, well, I don't have an issue with Machinima. They answer my emails. They pay me money. You know, I have a good relationship with them. I don't know why I would want to quit, you know. And then, of course, later on, shit happened. And we'll talk about that, okay? But that's for the other reactive thing I'm doing today. Anyway, let's continue. Thank you for the $2 tip. Let's continue.
This may or may not have been influenced by the lack of interest in Machinima, as it failed to get even close to the targeted amount in the new round of investments.
Wow, plans to bring on more funding have fallen through, and the company went through a series of layoffs. I wonder if that's 2016. The reason I say that, because 2016, all my contacts were laid off. Everyone. I had no one to talk to whatsoever. Yeah.
It closed later in that year, not helped by the new business model of SVOD, or subscription video on demand, which is Netflix's model. A now universally looked down upon model due to its web-based content trying to enter the streaming wars and compete with companies like Disney.
Yeah, that was idiotic.
The argument made by Philip Devevois for why gamers were more susceptible to subscribe to a potential Machinima SVOD was interesting at the least.
I can't wait to hear this. So a paid subscription service for Machinima. Just think of it this way. Why do you go to YouTube? Think about it. Why do you go to YouTube? Because at any moment, you can open up YouTube. There's a bajillion free videos you can watch on demand on any topic, right? And there's no investment. It doesn't cost anything. It's all just instant gratification. So now you're going to change YouTube from being instant gratification for any topic you want to you have to pay for a subscription to see the content. So you've undermined the entire reason anyone goes to YouTube. You could do on-demand content anywhere else on the net right now. Why would you need to do it on YouTube? It doesn't even make sense. The whole idea is flawed. But they were actually pushing for this at one point. So anyway, here we go.
Well, we have a very interesting audience because they're very accustomed to that, whether it's Xbox or Netflix or a game that they subscribe to monthly, or they do a lot of microtransactions and free-to-play games. They're wired for that concept of like getting exclusive content.
But they already get it from all those other sources. They don't need you as an additional source. You're something extra on top of what they already have. They see you as the free content. So you can't change your model and expect to be successful. You are a dunce. Here is probably the CEO or head bigwig at Machinima. He's a fucking dunce.
You know, an access for a certain kind of fee on a monthly basis. So
these are good buzzwords for investors, like the ones that funded Machinima last year, where Machinima was claiming to use that money for not only original series, but also expansions to different countries by collecting creators of those countries on other sub-networks like Machinima UK. As Philip Devevois was stating.
So we're going to be launching Machinima UK, Machinima France, Machinima Germany, maybe along with a few other countries over the next 6 to 8 months. And
over the next 6 to 8 months. So
yeah.
when's UK going to launch?
UK is actually launched in a very quiet beta right now. We're testing a lot of different things and ideas, so we haven't really promoted it.
What does that even mean? Machinima UK. You're on the fucking internet. The UK can see it right now. You're not a physical location store that people go and shop at. What the fuck is Machinima UK? What does that even mean? He's an idiot. This is the head of the company. He's a fucking moron. Machinima UK, Machinima Germany. You're already on the web everywhere, you fucking incredible dunce. Huh?
out there.
They've lost creator and YouTube interest, so who was left? Well, that's easy. It's the least in tune of all, which are traditional media networks that want in on this new online space
Warner Brothers
and are willing
investing.
to shell out money
Yep.
to get a position in it. To expand, we have Ken Burton, who was loosely employed as a talent scout for UK-based creators and gathered sponsorships to launch Machinima UK, where the said sponsors would cover the cost 3 times over. So certainly Machinima would bite, which is why he flew to the Machinima offices in the United States to pitch them the idea, where it was promptly ignored because they likely wanted to sell the company as it was right now.
Huh.
I found out afterwards that Machinima was never intended to be a business that would be kept. It was a business idea, a startup that would grow to a certain degree and then get sold off, and then they'd move on to the next big thing. Right? That was the whole idea.
It never
And
happened.
I think that at that time, maybe they were talking to Warner Brothers, and they were talking to other people about selling the business. So they wouldn't sell the business. They wouldn't expand if they were about to sell the business.
Right.
And that's the only logic I can come up with, because the thing paid for itself.
It should also be noted that this is not a rare goal for startups. Many sell their businesses, which show great potential, and is why companies are willing to pay in the millions for them. And then suddenly everything makes sense.
I love that the one guy on the left was wearing a hat in that office because it was complete stock footage.
Machinima is inflating their numbers to look more enticing to potential buyers. It's not responding to emails, not just because they don't want creators to leave, but also because they don't want to hemorrhage more money to buy the actual support for the creators.
Exactly.
Before Ken was fired from Machinima, he was instructed to bring extremely small creators on without the promise of pay.
Now, a couple of months prior to that, the writing was on the wall, because I got a call from a guy at Machinima, and he said, we need to kill your budget for the UK. So, right, okay, so we're going back to the model of working off advertising commission. He said, no.
Meh.
I said, well, how are we going to pay for content? He said, we're not. Okay, how do I get content? He said, just, you know, if people can get these YouTubers that have got 3 subs, and they'd be very grateful, I'm sure, to make a video.
Wow.
Right, okay, so I can no longer have Jack Frags or CNanners, or not CNanners, but Syndicate or KSI. I can't have anybody anymore that's well known and sort of famous in the UK. All I can do is pick up on 12-year-old kids.
It was also not uncommon for them to take on creators under the age of 18, where a parent's permission was required, but the only verification they needed was an e-signature, so creators as young as 12 years old were signed into the company like Creator Advanced UAV.
Yeah, I would.
That's so bad. You're gonna sign someone up who's a kid, and there's no way to even verify if their parent was really involved or if it's all bullshit, right? Wow, that's fucked up. That's the first I've ever heard of that they were signing kids into contracts and shit. That's fucking messed up, man.
Was their youngest partner at that time? Because I know they have like some 14-year-olds, but when I signed my deal, I was 12, so I don't think that's even like an age where you're supposed to have a YouTube channel yet. So they let me sign, and it wasn't as professional back then, so they didn't really care if I was under 18 or even under 13.
And so, about signing, like, Machinima, what they say is, if you're under the age of 18, then you had to have, like, a parent sign your contract. Is that what you did?
They told me to do that, but they never actually, like, fact-checked as to who signed it, so I just forged the signature at
There
that
you
time.
go.
I didn't
There you
tell my
go.
parents personally.
For creators under the age of 18, Machinima seemed extremely careful in letting them out when requested.
So I had a direct contact that I was given to, and I think he works now at Twitter, or he used
Not
to work
anymore.
there, so
Now it's
he's
the
been in
XApp.
industry for a bit, so I ended up just DMing him, and he ended up getting my contract terminated.
No doubt a difficult feat considering their continued rounds of layoffs, because Machinima was also laying off more employees than just Ken. So there was even less support for creators, and more creators were being added with even less support.
Yep.
Mr. Sark, the producer of Machinima Respawn, also backs up these claims.
As views started to descend and other studios were coming up, like Maker and all them, the desperate ploys to stay relevant by Machinima was just upload more vids. We need more views, and we need those numbers to tell people, you know, that are going to buy the company. That was all they wanted to do, was sell the company for, like, you know, billions and billions of dollars. That's what they wanted.
All of this was a recipe for chaos that Machinima had to endure in whatever way it could until it was sold off to Time Warner, which it was in talks with. And if it sold to Time Warner, they certainly had the funding to sustain a larger workforce and probably manage those signing on.
We got about 8 minutes left. Okay, I was curious because we're about 25 minutes into this. I can't see. Okay, because this part will probably end up being about 30-40 minutes long, which is what I was estimating. Interesting. So this is now, I wonder what year this is, because I wish they would say the year. He hasn't mentioned the year yet, and I'm wondering what year exactly this was happening. I remember when Time Warner / Warner Brothers was talking about investing, and then they did, and there was all this talk about, oh, now that Warner Brothers has invested in Machinima, does that mean there's going to be exclusive stuff with Injustice and other games like that? And I was like, I don't know. People were asking me, because I was a Machinima partner, and I'm like, I don't know what this means for the company. You know, Machinima never contacted their partners over this stuff. So it was, you would hear after the fact, oh, they got a new round of investment money from so-and-so. That's great. What does that mean for partners? No one would know. So people were like, oh, this is great. Maybe you'll have exclusive access to a new Injustice game. You'll be able to do content, and you do fighting games. It'd be great for you, Phil. Nothing ever happened at all. Like, nothing materialized. So
in the meantime, Machinima had to sustain itself, and to do so delved into even shadier strategies like uploading their videos to Blip.tv, a competitor of YouTube, and one where they could reap all the revenue of their uploaded videos without their contracted creators in the know. This was discovered by creator Ross Scott, who contacted Machinima because the contract he signed did not detail Machinima being allowed to cross-post his content. Yet his content was still up there, and he was not getting a cut from it.
Wow, that's fucking real messed up. So not only would they sign you to an unenforceable illegal contract, then they would just do it, your content whatever they wanted. They would start uploading it to other channels. Do you see? You'll see when I go into my own React event about the dark side of Machinima, well, I had dealings with them. I was always incredibly apprehensive about uploading my content to their channels. I said, you can partner me, and now you'll make ad revenue on my videos on my channel, but I almost never, in my entire time, over 6 years that I dealt with this company, almost never uploaded a video to their channel. I think I uploaded one video on like Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I think I uploaded my Project 7 series, and maybe over that entire time, 1 or 2 other videos, and that was it. But imagine if you were uploading your whole catalog of videos to their channel, and then all of a sudden they start uploading to a different business, and you make no money on that? How insane is that, right? Holy shit.
Was hardly the only creator this was being done to, as shown not only in the existing archive screenshots of their page, but also in Ross Scott's own 63 screenshots of content that Machinima was reaping the entire revenue over. Immediately after being discovered, Machinima removed the Blip channel, but that hardly did anything to the already archived evidence. Attempts to bring in more funding were also falling through. Employees were still being let go, in-house production was being cancelled, and even the Devilwan brothers were cheating from their roles, introducing Stefan Sempervino, who had a history in working for large service-based companies. The time to sell was not even right now, when
By the way, wanna know the truth? This is the guy right here that got my contract terminated with Machinima. This man right here. This genius who then tanked the company. So they put him in charge of the company at a time when it was falling apart. He completely ran it into the ground, and this is the man who canceled my contract with Machinima. I know, because I looked him up right after. Yep.
Even NPR was giving it bad publicity. It was a year ago when the value of the company was theoretically the highest, and as time passed, the value tanked further. As the big players kept on leaving, there was still hope to somehow make money, like an even larger focus on sponsorships. While Machinima always had sponsorships, there was an even greater focus to sponsor creators and integrate promotions in their videos. This is done through promoting said product in a video and announcing, in accordance to FTC guidelines, that you are being paid to promote said product as to notify your audience that your opinions are influenced by the money you are receiving.
So, this is another thing that happened when I was with them. It's weird that he's mentioning this near the end because actually this happened, I'd say, around the launch of Xbox One. So that was, what, 2014? So this wasn't anywhere near the end for them. But they started doing these promotions, and this is when promotions were starting to get big on YouTube with content creators, and no one was doing it right. So, for those who don't understand how this works, I'm an American. Allow me to explain how the law works here. If you are doing any kind of a paid promotion, if you're receiving pay for anything, you have to disclose it. Especially if you're making content based on receiving money, it must be disclosed. So, for example, if June the King was paying me today to react to his documentary, which he is not, okay? If he was paying, I would have to disclose that in this video. I'd have to say, so just so you know, this video is sponsored by June the King and blah, blah, blah. I would have to do that legally. If I don't, I'm violating the Federal Trade Commission guidelines because I'm essentially creating a paid ad and not disclosing it as an ad, and that's a misrepresentation, and therefore I could go to jail for it. Okay? It's actually jail time or insane fines. Like, it's a big problem. Okay? So every time that you see those testimonials or endorsements of a celebrity talking on TV, oh, I love this product or whatever, that's because they have to disclose it right away. You'll see it in the fine print at the bottom of the screen. It'll say blah, 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 right? It'll say that at the bottom, right? So what was ended up happening was, it wasn't just Machinima. There were other companies problematic doing this too. They would say, hey, so you're a partner with us. We got a big promotion available for you, all right? What we need you to do is do a bunch of videos about this game, and if you do, and you bring traffic to the game, like you'll put a link in the description of your video, if thousands of people click the link, you'll make big money doing it, all right? But they wouldn't say, oh, by the way, in your video, disclose that this is an ad campaign for the game. Immediately, that's a violation of the law. And Machinima was guilty. The biggest one they ever did, I don't know if he's going to mention the specific one. When the Xbox One came out in 2014, I want to say it was, there was a campaign that if you played any launch titles on Xbox One, if you did gameplay of it and you put like a hashtag into your title of your video and then you put a link in the description, they would aggregate those views, like count them, and then you get paid money in order to do that. But the catch was, you had to be positive in the video. I'm serious. The catch was, it said right in it, you must not be overly negative about any content you put out during this campaign. If you have a video that's overly negative, you cannot participate in the campaign for that video. So essentially, you couldn't be honest. You had to lie and say everything was good, and the more you lied, the more money you would make, because your video would be monetized and make extra money. So what ended up happening was everyone in the Machinima network started putting out very positive videos about Xbox One games for like 3 months. And then the whole thing blew up because when they found out about it and they did research, they found out no one disclosed that it was a paid ad campaign. And Machinima got sued and lost in court and ended up having to pay tons of fines. And it was a giant front page news that they did this. So let's see if he gets into it or not. I'm curious because we're near the end of the video.
And Machinima, by the end of 2013, secured quite the massive product
Here it
placement
is!
when they were able to give select creators early access to Xbox One.
Here it is!
The most paid for the promotions were Sky Does Minecraft on his channel Sky vs. Gaming and Syndicate on the Syndicate Project channel. Syndicate, in particular, would get in trouble in 2016 for not disclosing his ownership of a CSGO gambling site, where he was showcasing his wins to get his audience to lose more money on the website, thus making more money. This scenario was different in this case, because while he failed to promote that he was being paid by Xbox through Starcom through Machinima to promote a launch title, he, in this case, could have pleaded ignorance, as did Sky and many other creators tied up in this promotion, that didn't disclose in any way that they were being paid to, by direction, give a good review of Rise, Son of Rome, and the Xbox One.
There it is.
Information leaked about these creators being paid in early 2014, which started another wave of Machinima hatred because now they were breaking FTC guidelines.
Yep.
It must have been a bit of a blow, considering 2014 was the same year Maker Studios, a competing MCN, was sold off to Disney for $500 million. As for Machinima, they were still in talks with Time Warner, and continued their strategy of signing on talent wherever they could. From 2012 to August 2014, they managed to quadruple their creator roster from 3,000 creators to 12,000 plus.
Wow!
Now,
and again, who do you really think in there is meaningful? They just kept signing on anyone and everyone, trying to push it that it's a good thing to be with Machinima when really no one was really benefiting. Wow.
Even more creators, even the managed ones, were speaking out, whether it was animators being paid low rates for multi-minute long animations, or creators like Bro Team Pill, who made nonsensical game reviews for Machinima, was directed to focus on newer games, as it would make the series more relevant if the review was uploaded closer to whatever game he was reviewing's release. Except at times, Machinima wouldn't upload these videos a week after receiving them from Bro Team Pill, and then sometimes even a month, when all the interest in the covered games were already gone. And thanks to Machinima's Xbox One promotion debacle, the FTC launched an investigation where they found Machinima solely guilty, stating that both Starcom and Microsoft situations happened in spite of, and not in absence of, their own guidelines to prevent such things. The FTC eventually settled with Machinima, requiring both serious record-keeping and other responsibilities or suffer future fines. Needless to say, between this investigation launching in 2015 and not being entirely resolved until early 2016, likely didn't make it easier for Machinima to still sell their company. Also likely done strategically, Machinima was no longer touting the amount of creators it had on the Machinima website. Machinima could not, for a very long time, now offer a decent deal to make revenue from their videos. Its reputation was continuously brought down by current and ex-creators that found it popular to vent their grievances, and YouTube's algorithm was evolving in such a way that it was universally accepted that uploading to a network would only damage a large creator's potential viewership. The only thing they could feasibly sell Machinima by is the amount of content produced, and portraying themselves as curators of content that are beloved by their audience, like a cat with a laser pointer.
Because our audience cares about our content and engages with us through those twin passion points of fandom and gaming. That's why it works for our distributors as well.
What are you talking about? You don't have content. Like, literally, Machinima has no content. They did it first. When they were originally a company back in the 2000s, they were the website where you would upload Machinima content. The mashup gameplay with, like drama and comedy elements. When they hit YouTube, they changed to just be a place where everyone would upload their content to get it monetized, right? They don't have a fandom and they don't have game, like none of that exists. All you are is a company to have people who are already making existing content make more money or get a little bit more views. No one was like, I am a giant fan of the Machinima network. Who the fuck said that? No one. I'm a fan of the person who makes content on the Machinima network. They said that. They didn't say, I'm a fan of Machinima. No one said that because Machinima didn't have original content. The times they had original content, like the fucking Halo show, people scratched their head. Why did they make that? What did that have to do with anything? Why, why is Machinima making TV shows of Mortal Kombat? They're like, huh? So that's funny that this guy, here's a bigwig. I'm at MIP TV tech show trying to advertise Machinima, and literally every word out of his mouth is a lie. No one is, there's no fandom of Machinima, right? Okay, I take that back. They did have, just like every network, they had their own shows. Like, for example, they had a gaming news show, because Bloomkit just brought this up in the chat. They had a gaming news show. They had a show that would talk about, they go to events and they cover E3 and stuff like that. So there were personalities that they had on their channel. But that was not the meat of their channel. That's not why they were popular. You can't say that you have a ginormous fan base and everyone's tuning into Machinima because of your fandom of your content. That's a lie. That's an outright lie. Wow.
Because our audience is obsessed with this content.
Yes, not your content. It's not yours. It's someone else's content that you monetized, but you didn't make the content. And you don't own the content. You have the rights to advertise on it, but you don't have the... So what are you talking about?
Like a cat with a laser pointer.
Still, some companies saw something in Machinima because throughout it all, Time Warner, for 2 years in a row, was arguably the largest investor of Machinima. And in 2016, they bought Machinima for what is estimated to be less than $100 million.
Wow. So while their contemporaries, like Maker Studios, is getting bought out for over $500 million, they got bought for less than $100 million. Wow.
There's been no official sale amount. This is all anyone has to
Look, they were asking for $150 million, twice its projected 2016 revenue. So they got way undercut for what they thought that they were valued.
On. At this point, the main channel views were 1/10 of the average viewership when put alongside its 2011 stats.
Wow. So here's their channel, right? video views. Every day they would bring in about 200,000 to 300,000 views. Back in 2013, only 3-4 years prior, they were bringing in millions of views a day. So they completely tanked. Wow.
The natural trend was down, but never would it be as steep as it was between December 2018 and January 2019.
So this is when they completely went out of business, I believe. So my contract with Machinima ended February into March of 2017. And this makes perfect sense because this was the time when they were plummeting in popularity. This was the time when they were looking to sell and they didn't care about anything. So that makes sense that they treated me the way that they did back then, which we'll talk about again later today when I do my own event about my relation with them. So, all right, let's find out how they ended. Here we go, because this, I don't know how this ended. Let's find out.
Where Machinima got a combined total of negative 4,364,857,049. The reason it shows up like this on Social Blade is because whenever a channel removes a video, Social Blade then deducts the amount of views the video had. Meaning that in this time period, Machinima the channel, along with its other channels, removed their entire catalog. There was hardly any warning, and now due to the sudden removal of years of work by thousands of different creators without warning...
By the way, how hilarious is it that when they got bought by Time Warner, they changed their logo to that? Look at that fucking thing. They went from this big, incredibly notable, incredibly standout red M that everyone knew, the red square with the M in it, right? They went to that. Like, who the fuck was gonna look at that and think Machinima, right? So they completely destroyed their identity. They completely destroyed who they were going to be or who they were in the past. They completely ruined their entire company overnight by changing their identity when they got bought out. What a huge gaffe. Because again, it's kind of like a lot of people now are making fun of Twitter. Twitter was always known for being the blue bird. Everyone calls it tweeting. Everyone in pop culture, it's called tweeting. Now it's the X app. And what do they call it now? Posting on the X app? You've lost your identity. They literally overnight lost their identity by changing their logo. What a bunch of idiots.
And that without proper time for proper archival, much of Machinima's videos are now lost, possibly forever, and hinge on a very loose thread of a motionless company that can delete or send the videos public at will. There was discussion in mass on YouTube channels, Twitch streams, articles, other videos detailing Machinima's downfall about the loss of its combined works, and the bigger question is simply, why? That answer can be sourced from AT&T's purchase of Time Warner in 2018 that owned Machinima. AT&T also owned Fullscreen, which was another MCN, so AT&T merged Machinima into Fullscreen, laying off 81 Machinima staff in the process. Fullscreen then bought out the remaining contracts Machinima had. And the reason all the videos were set to private is because they were illegal liability, where it would be hard to find the licenses for something like music used in older videos. And it wasn't so much about the claims applied to these videos. It was the takedowns and accumulating strikes that could take down the entire network.
Right.
Besides that, Machinima's disjointed management that drew the eyes of the FTC was hardly anything AT&T was going to rely on.
Think of it this way. You have an entire network that the entire time they existed, they were based on illegal contracts. Because every contract that was signed that said in perpetuity was an illegal contract, right? They never were legally enforceable to begin with. They were fluff. It was a piece of toilet paper, basically, that everyone signed. Now your company got sold off, and you went, well, they still have the legal rights to use those videos. Oh, yeah? Someone could immediately just say, take down all the content with copyright claims, and then slap a lawsuit to try to suck the money out of Time Warner or subsequently AT&T, because AT&T bought Time Warner. See? So, oh, maybe it wasn't a good idea to just go after Machinima, because they were never a profitable company. But they just got bought out by AT&T. They're a very profitable company. Sue their ass for using your content without having a legally enforceable contract, and bank. So they said, well, it's too much of a liability. This company was a joker company, didn't know what the hell they were doing, and they just deleted all the videos. So imagine now, imagine you were someone who, over those years, was making original content for Machinima. They recruited you on YouTube because you were a popular YouTuber. They said, you do great content. Please make content for us. Do a whole show, do a whole series. We will own it, right? And then you upload it to Machinima. It makes some money. You're doing good. And then years later, they delete all your content off the internet forever. It's just like it never existed. All that hard work, all that history, gone, erased. That's what happened. That's a remarkable failure, a remarkable mess, huh? Holy shit. All right.
And it doesn't stop there. In 2021, Fullscreen ceased operations and the remaining creators were let go. The story of Machinima is one that captures deception that was not entirely through intent. Machinima, not just as a company, but as a successful business model, should have failed in 2012 when their most important service of partnering creators was circumvented through YouTube's own partnerships, but lived on solely through the reputation that was on borrowed time. This both exposed the carelessness of creators signing life-altering contracts without reading them, contracts that are equally as deceptive as they were incompetently formed. The largest irony is that in its final stages, every attempt made to offload the problems and sell off the company only brought on more problems and deterred potential buyers. From trying to prove itself through large promotions or signing on more creators that, as their predecessors did, found themselves stuck in the company through their carelessness. This all worked to depreciate its theoretical value. The benefits of the existence of Machinima now are, besides the pleasant memories created for many and the kickstarting of a massive gaming community, are the lessons. One of caution and to remain untrusting of reputation alone, and the other that not everything on the internet is permanent.
Wow. Wow! That was cool. I like that he did. It was like a big idol everyone was worshiping at the beginning, and at the end the idol's just been shattered and destroyed and is fallen apart on the ground, completely meaningless and forgotten. Wow. Wow. Because how cool, I mean, there is a light at the end of the tunnel here. So many creators were a part of Machinima and are still creators to this day. This did not hurt the creators, right? I mean, it did during the time frame when they were affected by these contracts and things, but so many creators who were able to monetize their content on YouTube through Machinima went on to become big and profitable for themselves, you know? Listen, I'm not big. I'm not insanely rich, but I'm successful. I get to still do what I love for a living every day. And I'm doing it independently. I don't have there's no third party that I deal with, like Machinima or anyone. I do it for myself now. I don't have to worry about upsetting some company or some bigwig interjecting, because that was the thing. Again, I urge you, if you liked this project that I just did, watch my own project that we're about to start in a few minutes, where I'm going to basically be talking about my own personal experiences with Machinima, because there were so many times where they wanted to interject and say, oh, can we be a part? Can we interject and get involved here? Can we get involved here? And I kept telling them, no, stay out. Just let me do my own thing. But that's how they work. You know, they always want to be, get hands-on. No, I don't want you to be hands-on. I'd prefer to just do it my own way. And I can do that today. I love that. Because now I'm partnered directly, with AdSense and YouTube and all of that. But back then, having that third party intervene and being in between, it was like a double-edged sword, because some days this company was great. Again, if they would answer an email, if they would answer your concerns, which they did for me, because I was one of the bigger partners under them, they were amazing. The entire time that they helped me out, I appreciated it. And then all of a sudden, like a flip of a switch, we don't care about you anymore. You're disposable. And that was the end of my relationship with them, as I'll fully disclose later today. But it's just pretty crazy how a company can completely change in pertinence, in popularity, just because of trends. And they did absolutely nothing of any kind of intelligence. The idiots in charge, I mean, were just that. They were complete morons. We're going to push ourselves to raise money by making TV shows. But that's not what you do. Why can't you show value in what you do? Unless maybe they were just admitting they had no value. Literally, when anyone could become a partner on YouTube, there was no more value in an MCN, and the writing was on the wall, and they just didn't want to admit it, right? Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But anyway, great documentary by June. Again, I love his stuff. Great documentary. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the questions I always had, the looming questions I had about how Machinima failed were answered in that documentary outright. So that's really good, right? That was very well done. And congrats to June on doing shorter stuff, because I know previous to like this video, he was always doing long form videos, but now he's pumping out shorter videos that allow him to still make content when he's working on larger projects. This was one of them. I think that was very well done. I hope more of you will, check out his content, because it's good stuff. And thank you for letting me react to your content, okay? So, all that being said, thank you all for watching my react to June the King's documentary on Machinima. Again, I urge you, if you watched this show and you enjoyed it, could you do me a favor? Could you give it a like? Could you leave some comments on it for engagement? Let me know. What do you think about how they fell? This video was all about the fall of Machinima, right? Do you think that they made the right decisions? Do you think that they did something stupid? What do you think about me sticking with them as long as I did when everyone else was, you know, kind of leaving? I didn't really have a reason to leave because I wasn't affected by the majority of stuff in this video. Never really affected me there. And that's why I kind of didn't get it, that they were kind of falling apart as a company. But yeah, let me know. Please give me your ideas, your feedback on the comments. I really appreciate that. And thank you to everyone here live today. It was a good audience watching, and I appreciate that as well. All right, until my next react to someone else's content, I hope that you enjoyed this, and I will see you soon. But remember, I'm doing my own project. It's called The Dark Side of Machinima, where I'm going to talk about my personal experiences with this company over the time frame, starting in 2009 all the way through 2017, that I dealt with them. So if you're interested in that, that's a separate series here on the channel. I hope you'll give it a look. All right, guys, thank you so very much. Thanks for watching. See you soon.